Ja, sé Benjamin Craigan sé Bill ganan isle na cadine é be sin Bill ganan de te na cadine é de sin nelly Mississippi de na se me é Brenda Craigle se é Barry Craigle Albuquerque, New Mexico de ke hat agot ego steen isle. My name is Benjamin Craig, and I'm a business administration major, taking communications 121. And this is a presentation on behalf of my experience as a mobile automotive technician, as well as a towing operator, and my experience on the Navajo Nation on the illiteracy when it comes to automotive maintenance. And so today I'll be giving a little bit of tips and tricks on what you guys should know just as a vehicle owner in order to prevent bigger problems down the road. And especially with the roads out here on Navajo Nation, they can be very tolling on our vehicles. And sometimes we just don't know how to maintain our vehicles. So we'll start with like I said, the roads, which Navajo Nation we experience wear and tear more than cities. We have unmaintained dirt roads. When it gets snowy, when monsoon season comes, the mud is excessive and the snow is so deep it leads to premature failure various components of our vehicle. And with that, and the minimal resources that educate the general public, not only on repair knowledge, but of simple vehicle maintenance. We need some type of resource in order for the individuals, the residents of Navajo Nation, to be aware. So knowledge is power. Simple automotive maintenance, simple automotive repair knowledge, keep from being taken advantage of. Mechanical repair shops and community members might take advantage of you if you don't know the ins and out of your vehicle. And what can we do in the long run? Um, Knowing how to maintain your vehicle is one thing, but the infrastructure is still going to be poor. Our roads are degrading, our vehicles are degrading. And so what can we do about that in the future? And a little bit of background, as a study that was performed with over 2,000 American car owners, a whopping 36% of them didn't know how to change a tire. And half of them stated they feel uncomfortable changing their own oil. Basic knowledge in these types of areas will go a long way. To get the most life possible out of your vehicle, a set of basic checks can be performed. No special tools are needed for these basic checks. But if you do want to get a tool set, some things, some general tools which are a great investment would include a tire depth gauge, an oil funnel, of course, an oil drain reservoir, oil filter wrench, a socket set. And these things are all um, relatively cheap, less than $50. Many of them less than $20, and you can get it at O'Reilly, even Walmart. And one very basic thing with our vehicles are fluid checks. The most basic thing to know about maintaining your vehicle is how to check your oil, how to check your coolant levels, how to check your transmission fluid. Many people are too scared to change their oil and not only change their oil, but even check it. And so just knowing how to change your oil, which would be locating the oil dipstick, and you could take that out. There's a grid on the very lower end of it. You would wipe it clean first, reinsert the dipstick, and then view that grid while the vehicle's not running. If you see the the oil level is um, lower than spec, so it says add, and it's either at or below that add line, then of course you would add oil. The weight of the oil is on your filler cap, which is right on the top of your engine. It'll say 5W20, 0W30, whatever the weight of your oil is, it'll have it specified there. This is when something like an oil funnel comes in handy. Um, and if you don't even have an oil funnel, a lot of the times it's easy just to pour it in. Um, However, you would add this slowly. So if your oil is low and you're just wanting to refill it, top it off, and you would add maybe a quarter of a quart at a time and start the vehicle, wipe the dipstick back off until you have your oil within spec on that grid. Um, in order to do an oil change, you would do something similar. So you would actually take off the filler cap. You would find the drain plug beneath the vehicle, put your oil reservoir with the vent cap taken off, and of course the plug taken out, so all of the oil will go into the reservoir. Slide it under your your nut, and then you'll find the right size socket for that oil plug nut, and then you'll go ahead and take that off. It'll um, take maybe 10 to 30 minutes to drain all of your oil. The longer the better, because then you'll get more fresh oil into your car. Let that drain, put your plug back in, only hand tight with no power tools. Go find your oil filter. If you can't find it, you can use the internet as your resource, and go ahead and unscrew with your filter wrench. With that reservoir put under your oil filter, let it drain for another 5 minutes, not as long for this one because it doesn't hold as much capacity. And then with the little bit of oil from your previous filter, put it around that gasket, and make sure that the previous oil filter's gasket is not stuck under the vehicle where it screws in, because you don't want a double gasket. That would cause leaks. So screw that back in, hand tight again, and then with your vehicle manufacturer's oil capacity, which could be found in the handbook or it could be found online, you'll go ahead and add all of that oil back through where the filler cap was at. Put your filler cap back on and start it up. Make sure everything's running fine. Some vehicles have a relearn procedure, which could be easily Googled online. You can find how to reset that. If it's a basic model, like an older 95 or older, chances are you don't have to do that. No. So I mean that's as simple as it gets for an oil change. Um, when it comes to suspension, um, or lugging and chugging of your vehicle when you're trying to accelerate and you're not getting acceleration, noises and grinding. These are all things that will take a little bit more expertise, but you don't have to be an expert. We want to utilize our resources. Google is it's there for us to rely on, and of course, Google is not always right. The internet is not always right, but you can find a lot of good information, and you can always find something, repair, or replacement. Someone has done it before, and so you can look back at that in order to get a little bit of information on what you're looking at. So, like I said, so things to look out for would be some knocks, some grinding. If you have knocking when you're turning your wheels, then that's something suspension related. If you're having grinding only while the vehicle is moving, then that could be suspension or your hubs of your vehicle. It could be um, something rubbing on your um, on the inside of your wheel. It could be a multitude of things. However, it's not difficult to check. So if you have a grinding sound coming from, say, one wheel on the front side of your vehicle, you can get your jack that's already in your vehicle in most vehicles, lift up that wheel and rock it. You'll rock it from the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position, and then you'll rock it from the 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock position, and then diagonally. And if you get movement and if you hear that sound, um, there's a good chance that your hub assembly has started to wear down. If you have um, a sound that goes past your will, then get a friend and have them move your will while you safely, preferably with a jack stand, not just a jack. Look under the vehicle with a flashlight. You might need to use a pry bar to see if there's a sway bar link or if there's a tie rod in where the bushing has visibly gone bad, grease will be leaking, possibly be leaking from it, and you'll see and you'll hear that movement. So those are a couple things. Like as far as suspension, like I said, suspension is a big thing on Navajo Nation for the rough roads out here that they take a big toll on suspension. If your check engine light is on, the nearest O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Napa for a lot of residents out here is an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours away, and we don't want to chance driving all the way that way just to have our check engine light checked if we're worried about that problem becoming something bigger and possibly wearing our vehicle down. So what you can do is invest in an OBD reader. It can be a simple $20 Amazon OBD reader, or you could get one for $200 that tells you all the information. My recommendation is that you get a simple one because you don't need much more than that to pinpoint the basic problem and to know if it's safe to drive to your nearest mechanic shop, or just to get if it's a code that's very specific that you're able to pull from your vehicle, then it might just be a sensor that you know right away. I need to purchase this sensor, and again, use your resources. It may be a 5 minute change out of that sensor, whereas you would otherwise be charged $500 just to have it diagnosed, and to have that the labor and the part all placed for that sensor. Those are some things to look at. Those the check engine light. Grabbing an OBD reader for a decent price. The sounds, the knocking, the grinding, um, uneven tire wear. If your tires are wearing unevenly, then you could do something similar like that suspension check, and see if there are any loose components, something that needs tightened up or that's gone bad because the angles of your wheels are not aligned. It could be something as simple as needing an alignment, or there may be worn components which you can find yourself. Smells in the cab. This is a big one because carbon monoxide poisoning is not something to take lightly. Um, Exhaust manifolds go usually right in front of the engine, between you as a driver and the engine. And if you're at idle and you have an exhaust manifold or an exhaust leak in general, that smell, those carbon monoxide poisons can be lifting into your vehicle, and that wouldn't be safe for you or for your family members. So if you have any type of smell like a propane gas smell. If you're smelling like burnt wires, anything like that, then that's something you would want to get checked out right away. um, you know, a lot of people just take their vehicles into service to the dealership, to mechanic shops, but this is preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance will keep your vehicle running longer, and keeping you from getting into bigger, more costly issues if those things are not replaced. One thing that could cause loss of power that I've seen many times, um, because of I guess, just the age of the vehicles around here, the catalytic converters, they're good for around 150,000 miles usually. Once you get past that, they start to get clogged up, and so there's a honeycomb inside of the catalytic converter section of your exhaust, which is meant to filter out by use of heavy metals such as platinum, iridium, filter out the basically the heavy the harmful um, emissions that would normally go into the atmosphere. Over time, those caked up emissions cause your exhaust not to flow efficiently. And because of that, you'll have back pressure, heated back pressure put back into your engine. And because air is coming in and not being let out, your engine is struggling with its performance and you're not able to accelerate how you normally would. This is something that is sometimes a costly repair, usually between 500 to 1,500 for the catalytic converter or converters if it's more than one, and then up to maybe 600 for labor. Um, However, if this is something that's not replaced right away, that back pressure and the heat um, that's constantly being pushed back into your engine can cause constant overheating to the point of catastrophic failure. Your camshaft could go haywire. Your pistons could be bent from the excessive heat and being run with that heat. So this is something just like many issues that occur. You don't want it to let go on um, without um, anything to prevent that problem. If you cannot uh, get a ride to work, if your vehicle's down, then you know there's always there's always someone you can ask, but don't drive your vehicle if it's something that may cause further damage. Another point we're going to be going over, which is a big one for me, is don't be a victim of repair shops. The narrative is way too familiar. This mechanic ripped me off, or I had no idea what he was talking about, but they said it's going to cost me $1,500 to fix it. I asked for an explanation of the repairs, but I was only provided an invoice, which I didn't understand. Again, research is your best friend. The internet is a very useful tool, and you can find tons of information to benefit you and your preventative maintenance for your vehicle. But as I stated earlier, what could be done in the future, because our roads are so tolling on our vehicles, uh, talks at community-oriented events that host both adults and children could be utilized as a platform for coaching on vehicle maintenance and repair that any car owner should know. This is something that I look forward to having talks on in the future at local chapter houses and whatnot, in order just to inform the public of what they can do to keep their vehicle running tip top. Um, but not only that, but when it comes to the the local um, the local government, the chapter house meetings, be a part of it. Be a part of the the talks about infrastructure, on the committees for roads to be paved or at least graveled, because the more voices, the more we can get across, um, and the more our community will be grateful for it. There's tons of bus routes that have been paved or have at least been graveled, or at the very, very least graded. And so, if we could have that done for the majority of our roads on Navajo Nation, then we'd be sitting a lot better when it comes to the wear and tear of our vehicles. If there are any questions or concerns, then you can reach me at B as in boy, Craig, Craig, at denaecollege.edu. And if you'd like to contact me for more specific advice or just for mechanic work in general that you're not able to tackle yourself, I do mobile mechanic work all across the Navajo Nation, more so Central Agency. And you could reach me at 505-979-3430. So I look forward to hearing from any of you who have some questions, suggestions, concerns, and I look forward to seeing you um, at some community events that I will be probably putting up flyers for in the next couple months for these talks. Yeah, have a good day.